Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Schlage number 40-104. This is a key gauge. This is used for all Schlage keys. There's a reference in the title, except. I'm not sure what Schlage means, except that you certainly wouldn't use it on any small format. This would be typical Schlage systems, full-size interchangeable core, any native Schlage pinning. Schlage is a two-step system that is a 0.015 increment pin, and this key gauge would be meant for a typical Schlage system. If you don't know how it's used, and it may be possible that you don't, I'm going to grab a key and demonstrate how this is used. There are some cut keys that we just pinned a job for. And because we did some locksmithing for this client, there's no bitting. That's already stamped on the bow of the key. So this would be an ideal application to determine what exactly the bitting is of my key. So here's how this works. Schlage is bow to tip. So your first cut would be the cut closest to the bow. You're going to take that into the wide end of the key gauge, and you're going to get it connected to that first cut. And you're just going to slide it down while maintaining the key being straight. And you'll get down and see that there's a 6 underneath there. I got my key a little bit bent. However, or less than straight. Okay. And that lines up with the, hold it backwards, that lines up with the 6. I know it's hard to see there, but it lines up with the 6, and that's going to be a 6 cut. Okay, is what that is. If we go to the next cut on the key, it will line up with the 5. So now our bitting is 6-5, and then you continue on down. Let's go to the 4th chamber, which is a shallow cut. That lines up with the 2. So now we've got a 2 in that 4th cut, and so on and so forth. So the way that you use it is you just basically put your key in there and then you just slide it to where you need it to be and go over each cut, and you record the number that it lines up with as you go along. I know that this part of the tool is your little depressing tool to be able to remove a knob. This would help put C-clips on that you'll see on F-Series locks. I don't know what this prep is for. I'm just not sure. I think that hole is just a handy hole to hang the tool as well. Key gauges are required. You've got to have one. You could do it this way as well. Okay, you can also do it this way. It comes back the same way. It's just this takes a little longer because now you need to reference the root depth and your depth and spacing chart. So my root depth for that first cut that was a 6 is 0.245 or thereabouts. Then you have to look at your depth and spacing chart to figure out what is the root depth, 0.245 thereabouts. What cut is that? This has an effective plug diameter of 0.5, so the root depth, 0.245, minus 0.5 is 0.255. So the question becomes is what's the length of the pin that's 0.255 length? That's what you then convert to a Schlage number, and that's going to come back to be a 6, is what that is. I just did that measuring quickly. So the key gauge will make all of that process just a little bit faster, especially if you're dealing with someone who is doing the lock work for you that may not come from a perspective of locksmithing. It's really easy to teach this tool. It's a lot more work to pull out a caliper and say, okay, now look at this technical drawing of a key blank and all of the different depths measured out for you. So you might just want to keep it simple as well. You get good enough with that caliper, you'll measure the depths and you'll know. And in fact, if you spend enough time locksmithing, you'll be able to just look at that key and sight read it, and you'll be able to know what those cuts are. Someone can take a look at a key, and someone who's a locksmith who does it all the time, they'll be able to look at that key and basically be able to duplicate it just by looking at it. That's just a trait of being a locksmith. Not that I am one, but that is You stare at enough keys and you start to memorize how deep those cuts are, especially if you have a reference point. You know, how deep is the first cut? Well, you can see, well, the second cut's got to be shallower. Then the third cut looks like it's the same as the first cut, and you get the point. So there is a link to the manufacturer's page below this video. Let's pause this video and hop over there and take a look at the supporting documentation for Schlage. So this is the item that we are looking at. More from Schlage. This is going to pull up the manufacturer's product. This is going to pull up the manufacturer's page within our site. And what's helpful about that is on that page, there are several encyclopedic sorts of documents. Very helpful documents when it comes to the Schlage full-line catalog. Service manuals for Everest. Primus service manual is here as well. 2018 Key System Cylinders and Keys catalog. Let's take a look at that book. See what's inside of there. Also open up the catalog. I did a find function on my keyboard for 40-104. And there you'll find that key gauge. And my suspicion was correct earlier about it being except you need a different key gauge if you're dealing with small format. A best small format A2 system, you would need a different key gauge for that. So this will work for all Schlage's FS full-size keys. And that page to that manual will show you other cylinder service equipment and tools. Okay, lots of interesting documentation that can be unearthed from this page if you just root around for it, so to speak. Also on the manufacturer, well, this is the full-line catalog, and as I search the full-line catalog, I do find that same page that's in the key service manual book. Okay, back to the manufacturer's page, a couple of other things of note or that are noteworthy. Service manual, key blank, cylinder reference, quick reference guide, templates, a link to the manufacturer's website here. Archival catalogs. You want to see what Schlage offered in 1972? Right there. This area is constantly under development. We're always scanning new archival catalogs for review. It's fun. It's fun to see what, to jump in a time machine and go back and see what Schlage had. And it's also fun to be able to do some research as well. Someone shows you something, you might have that in an old catalog. Okay, let's wrap up this video on camera. So in conclusion, the name Schlage is synonymous, obviously, with everything lock-related, and has been for almost 100 years, or maybe it's 100 years. I know that Walter Schlage filed a very important patent in about 1921, which gave us the construction of cylindrical lock, where the cylinder is actually contained within the trim. So if you've ever used an F-series lock, or an A-series lock, or a D-series lock, or any lock from Schlage, maybe that's not a deadbolt. It's a result of the lock man, I think is what Mr. Schlage was known as. San Francisco, he immigrated from Germany. I think he was the son of a lock worker, or a very mechanically inclined gentleman. He was especially mechanically inclined. He worked, and I don't remember the details because I've read it in books in years past. I think he worked for a lock company, but then at night he went home and got down to the basement, down to his lab, and worked on his own designs. And Schlage Lock Company, San Francisco. No longer housed, of course, in San Francisco. I think when I was first started in the industry that they had supportive administrative staff there. But, I'm partial to Schlage, and I think it's because I'm most familiar with the line. But I'm also partial to them from a viewpoint of the fact that it's a good quality lock. It's a good quality lock backed by exceptional quality people. I have a contact there in technical support, and she is amazing. She is beyond possessing expert command over the subject matter, and I thank her very much for indulging my several and many questions. If you have any questions on the Schlage 41-what was that part number? A 40-104 key gauge or any other Schlage product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.